Hello, everyone. Welcome to Start the Week with Spencer. This is our weekly webinar here at Doman International, where we take questions from parents of children with special needs from around the world. And we do urge parents to come with their most important, biggest questions. So today we have a special session that we do every month, which is called Victory Day, where we announce the changes that children have had on the Doman Method in the last month. And a couple of quick things I like to say about these, the wins of children that we announce. First of all, these are not selected children, right? We don't just select a few children because they had especially good results. We invite all the children who have been to the Doman International Clinic in the last month to be included in this presentation, and then the parents decide if they feel comfortable with us presenting their children's results or not. So that's the first thing. They're not handpicked. There are many amazing results we are not announcing today. And we have children from all around the world, all different ages. I think that will be very impressive. A couple of quick announcements before we get into the presentation. So we do have upcoming trips around the world. So right now we have staff traveling to New Zealand, where they're and Australia, where they're going to be seeing families there for live appointments. We have our next trip coming up will be to Serbia and Croatia in September. In October, we're going to our European Center in Italy. If you're interested in coming to our European Center in Italy, just to let you know, right now we have a waiting list. So if you're interested, please contact us as soon as possible. In November, we've got trips coming up to India and Dubai. In December, to California and to Russia. So, and of course, we've got our center here in Philadelphia, which are we have appointments available at different times around the calendar. Colleen, any additional announcements you want to make about the clinic?
I think that's actually it. You covered everything.
I'm impressed I can remember it all.
Very well done. Yeah, exactly as you say, we have a waiting list for our trip to Italy in October. But please, if you're interested, do call, or message, because the waiting list, we've asked for updates on August 20th. So we will know in a couple of weeks what spaces we have, and we definitely want to get people situated. There's a lot. I worry sometimes, honestly, that parents wait, thinking, oh, it's better to schedule an appointment closer so we don't have to wait around. But the fact is, there's a tremendous amount of preparation that goes on prior to the appointment date, and that's all included with the program. So I think families, as soon as they decide this is what they'd like to do, they should get a date right away, and then we can start working with them.
Colleen, do you remember when's the next available date in Philadelphia?
The next available, well, we just had an opening for September 15th, a cancellation.
Okay.
But then after that, it's November 3rd.
Wow. Okay, everyone. So only one appointment available up until November 3rd. All right. I'm going to share my screen, and Colleen, I'll just ask you to let me know if you can see the presentation.
You got it. I can see it.
Thank you. Just
to see if it changes.
There we go.
It's working.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So yeah, everyone, we're doing the August Victory Day. Victory Day is a day every month where we announce the changes that children have had on the program in this month. And as I said, these children are randomly selected based on parents agreeing to be in the presentation. So we're going to start with Elisa first. Colleen, can you see Elisa's picture now?
Yes, I can.
It's working. Okay. So first we have Elisa, and Elisa is 26 years old, and she started the program with a diagnosis of psychomotor delay, essentially developmental delay in every area of development. And before the Doman program, Elisa started the program at age 21. And I think that that's very important for parents to know, because a lot of parents ask us, is it too late for my child to start the program? And for Elisa, she was already an adult when she started. At that time, at 21 years of age, she faced various challenges that affected her health, her independence, and her development. Her medical tests showed all kinds of abnormalities when she started our program, abnormalities that had not been addressed, like an iron deficiency, low vitamin B12. B12 is very important for brain function. It showed low white blood cells, which is usually an indicator of infection, low hemoglobin levels, iron, ferritin, right? So this indicates all kinds of immune and oxygen transport difficulties, very important underlying physiological issues that had not been resolved before the age of 21. Fortunately, our doctors and nutritionists were able to pick up on that and started working on it. Alongside these other health concerns, Elisa also struggled with communicating via speech. Her writing and drawing and note-taking skills were still developing. They were not age appropriate, way below age level. In fact, she encountered challenges with reading unknown words. So if she saw words she didn't know, she might have trouble even reading it. Simple math was difficult, and organization. And her social behaviors were sometimes unusual. I should also add here that at the age of 21, Elisa had not graduated from high school. Because of these combined struggles, Elisa required frequent prompting for daily personal care tasks. Like she needed help with washing, dressing, managing her routine. Again, this is a 21-year-old having difficulty with some basic tasks. Well, today, Elisa now demonstrates remarkable independence and confidence after starting the program. She performs personal care activities with little to no prompting and manages her daily routine confidently. Her communication is clearer and her organizational skills have improved significantly. And not only has she improved so much in her daily routine and personal care skills, she has improved greatly from a cognitive standpoint. And that led to Elisa last year graduating from high school and getting admitted into university, which was something that honestly her parents thought was probably not possible in her life. That was just a huge, huge moment for Elisa, as you can imagine. So not only did she graduate from high school, she was invited to come to Doman International as an intern, which is something that we do sometimes with children and young adults as they get closer to graduating from the program. We'll invite them to come as interns, right? It's great work experience for them. And it's great for us, the staff, to be able to observe how does this young adult or adult do in a work environment. So Elisa actually this year came for her second internship. And she took full ownership of her responsibilities. She was able to stay on track with her tasks and jobs using phone reminders, right, that she was setting herself. She also supported others at Doman International with kindness and maturity, showing leadership and teamwork as well. I'd also like to say that Elisa, after I thought this showed a lot of initiative. After her internship, she contacted me. She texted me and she said, "Hey, Spencer, I want to make sure that I do well. What did you hear from the other staff?" And I said, "Elisa, I heard glowing reviews from all the staff. You did great." And she went, "Good, I'm happy to hear it," which I thought showed a lot of maturity for someone just checking in to make sure they had succeeded. So physically, Elisa is stronger and more coordinated. She confidently performs hanging and brachiation exercises that build strength and motor skills, right? In fact, Elisa is really physically superb. And swimming is an important and consistent part of her routine. And I think I've got, here's a video of Elisa brachiating at home. Let you watch the video and then I'll explain why this is important. Here she turns around. Notice how she's skipping bars as she brachiates across these monkey bars. So just to give you an idea, we very often, when we teach children and adults to do this activity, we have parents try it themselves. And I can honestly say probably 2% of adults can perform this activity independently without someone needing to hold their weight. So you can see Elisa is able to do this with a lot of confidence. And probably you noticed how strong Elisa is. And that's from her daily physical program that she's doing part of the Doman Method. This activity is very good for Elisa. It's been great for her for fine motor skills, writing skills, right? So many different important skills. Elisa's journey from poor health and dependence to strength, independence, and confidence really shows the impact that the Doman program has had on her life, and of course, her whole family's dedication. So congratulations to Elisa and to her entire family. All right. Well, next we have Anastasia. Anastasia is 8 years old. Oh, by the way, going back to Elisa, I should say that Elisa is from Italy and she comes to our Italian campus for all of her appointments. Now let's move on to the next child. So now we have Anastasia. Anastasia is 8 years old and is from Belarus. And she has the diagnosis of neurodevelopmental delay with motor and sensory challenges. Before the Doman program, Anastasia, she started the program at age 4. She faced a lot of developmental challenges. Her vision was very limited. She could only see details about 1 meter away from her. Past a meter, she couldn't see. She struggled to focus beyond that. Her mobility was very much restricted. She could creep short distances on her hands and knees, but she could not walk yet at the age of 4. Okay. And you can see in this, I like this photo of Anastasia because first of all, you can see in this photo now, she's confident with standing. She can walk, but also you can see she's making eye contact with the camera, which is more than a meter away, right? So she's demonstrating her vision has improved and her mobility. Also, before the Doman program, her muscle tone was quite abnormal. She was rigid in her arms, but loose in her legs, and that affected her movement quality. And being loose in your legs, of course, is going to stop you from walking or make it harder to walk. She was also hypersensitive to sounds and textures that often caused her distress, withdrawal. She would avoid things because of how overly sensitive she was. Her communication was limited. She could make a few meaningful sounds, but really no meaningful speech. And during evaluations, she was anxious really to do anything. Now, if we look at Anastasia now, she has learned to not just creep everywhere on her hands and knees, but also walk on the Doman program. She now walks independently for up to 30 minutes without any support. And that's important for me to say because sometimes when people will talk about a child with special needs, they'll say, oh, this child learned how to walk. But then when you see them in real life, they're being held, their hands are being held, they're walking in a walker, So no, she walks without support. She learned to walk on the program. Confidently, she's moving around her home and outdoors, even on uneven surfaces. And she has better balance and strength and consistently stands unsupported, like you saw in that photo. Her tactile sensitivity has also lessened, and she can now tolerate different textures, which before would have made her very upset. Here we've got a video of Anastasia walking independently. And you can see how good her balance is. Her mother proudly shares about Anastasia. Just recently, Anastasia received a walking victory. She learned how to stand up and walk without support. For a long time, she was afraid to get up from the floor by herself, but thanks to the well-designed physical program and hard work, she did it. Here we can see Anastasia walking upstairs on her own while holding on to the railing. Great achievement for a child who couldn't walk. Now she can walk for 30 minutes, as I said, and she could only creep on all fours when she started. Oh, this is the mom talking here. Mom said, I believe all the programs together helped us, the nutrition, breathing, and cognitive therapy. Her communication skills have grown significantly. Anastasia now can read independently, and she can answer questions about what she reads, right? So she can read from books and also answer questions when she's tested. And she's more engaged in daily activities, showing more confidence and attention. So really amazing work by Anastasia and her family. Congratulations. All right, now we have Jose Francisco, and Jose is 1 year and 7 months old and was given a diagnosis of developmental delay. And before the Doman program, when he started the program at just around 7 months of age, his vision was very limited. He could not see detail consistently, right? When we talk about seeing detail, we mean can you recognize mom or dad's face? If someone smiles, can you see they're smiling? So he could not see detail consistently and was functionally blind. And his visual tracking was inconsistent. His mobility was also very restricted, right? He could not crawl on his belly on the flat floor. His upper body strength was weak. There was definitely an underdevelopment there. In addition to his visual and mobility challenges, he also had limited language understanding. He was a baby, but he didn't understand words yet. He did recognize the voices of his family members, but he reacted slowly to sounds. He had difficulty differentiating sounds. And his diet was limited. It was heavy in dairy. And he did have health challenges, which included interrupted sleep and frequent mild illnesses. Well, now, after beginning the program and doing it for a year, Jose's vision has expanded dramatically. He can now track pictures from 1.5 meters away, and he follows faces and objects even at 3 to 4 meters, which is a huge difference. I always like to point out to people that being able to see detail, people's faces, pictures, that's what makes a child motivated to move, and it enriches your life so much. If you're not able to see faces or pictures, you're essentially living functionally blind, and that was Jose Francisco's world a year ago. Now he can recognize pictures of animals, like if he sees a picture of a dog, he can recognize it. And he can also give a much more focused gaze when looking at something. He's also able to watch television now and enjoys it, showing increased attention and engagement. So here you're going to see a video of Jose Francisco reacting to a video on a TV. So you can see there Jose Francisco dancing. Sorry, I have to watch this one more time. I love this so much. Let's watch it again. Right. And there you can really see how learning how to see isn't just an important developmental milestone. It's not just an important neurological ability. It completely changes the quality of your life. Right now, he can watch a video and enjoy it, which is something that we want all children to be able to do. Now, also, Jose has started crawling on the flat floor. So this is a child who couldn't crawl when he started the program. His mobility has improved significantly on the inclined floor. I want to show you a video of Jose Francisco crawling down the inclined floor and onto the flat floor. And I think that, keep in mind, parents have worked very, very hard on this. This has been a year of work for them, but now he's able to move his body on his own. And I think that this video is a very good representation of why the inclined floor is such an important part of the Doman method and why we use it to get children to go from being immobile to mobile. So please note here, the inclined floor is put at the right angle so that it's easy for Jose Francisco to move, but he's not sliding, right? He's moving himself. Please notice he's using his arms and a bit his legs too to push himself forward. So look, he's already come down the inclined floor. That took him about, I'd say maybe 20 seconds or so. Now he's crawling off the inclined floor onto the flat floor. And now it's getting harder, of course, because he's crawling on the flat floor, but watch him as he crawls his entire body off
Olá!
the inclined floor and onto the flat floor. And please notice here, he picks up his head, right, to look around. That shows why vision is so important for motor development, right? Why would a child be motivated to move if they don't see, right? What's the point of moving if you can't see what you're moving toward? So you can see this connection between his visual development and his mobility development.
Ai, 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 ai.
And I also want to point out here, this is kind of a special thing for Jose Francisco. You can see here, there are these walls on either side of him. One of his big motivations for crawling down is he actually likes to peek around the wall to see what's going on over there, right? So his vision has gotten so good, he enjoys the game of getting to the end and looking around the wall to see what's going down the hallway. And now Jose Francisco has started to crawl, I think maybe even up to a meter. I might be off a little bit on the distance onto the flat floor, which is a huge achievement for him. Jose now in his comprehension has improved. He understands over 100 words. He can follow even instructions, verbal instructions that are given to him. He's a very smart boy. And he's also starting to understand some time concepts, like if something needs to be done now or after. His hearing has sharpened and he's locating sounds. You know, it's still delayed, but he is better than when he started the program. Sorry. We have a video here of his manual development program. And what you're going to see here is parents are holding a dowel and he's holding on to the dowel. This is very good for improving manual development in a child who doesn't use their hands very much. So you're going to see dad lifting him up. He's grasping onto that dowel on his own. No one's touching him. And dad's lifting him up to the sitting position.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pumba.
And you can see he's smiling. He loves that, right? So that's very important because it's improving the strength in his hands. That's going to be important for fine motor skills. It's improving the strength in his arms. That's going to be important for gross motor skills and, improving his crawling ability. So a lot going on there. And hopefully you can see there how we're showing almost an entire trajectory here where Jose Francisco is just learning to kind of pull his own weight up, holding onto a dowel. And then we saw in that last video, Elisa maintaining her entire weight using her hands. His sleep has greatly improved. And we very often see that with children. As they see better and as they move better, their sleep improves. His bowel movements are better. No need for laxatives or suppositories. His immunity has strengthened. So his illness has gotten better. His health has gotten better. And his diet has also improved significantly. And he has much more variety now. So congratulations to Jose and to his parents. What a great achievement. So in just 1 year, the Doman program has really helped Jose transform from limited vision and inability to move to a child who sees much better and is moving with more confidence. All right. Well, last but not least, we have Mattia. Mattia is 9 years old and has a diagnosis of Down syndrome. Please note the differences in diagnoses we've been looking at and also ages. Before the Doman program, well, for Mattia, it was only 6 months ago. This is his second visit at Doman International. He came to our European center. So he's only been doing this program for 6 months at the age of 9. But before the program, he had difficulty tracking objects with his eyes, very limited reading ability. He could recognize some words, but his comprehension of what he was reading was almost non-existent. He was uncoordinated in his movements, like in his walking, and had weak arms. His speech was hard to understand before the program, and he didn't have a lot of fine motor skills. And additionally, he had low muscle tone, which is very common for children with Down syndrome, and also fatigue, low energy. Well, if we look at how Mattia has done over the last 6 months, since starting the program, he has made remarkable progress. In just 6 months now, he's confidently reading new books. So his reading has greatly improved. And his ability to understand stories has also improved. So during his evaluation this time, he was asked both direct and indirect questions, and he was able to do both. Just so you understand what's the difference between a direct and an indirect question. A direct question would be something like, where's the word cheetah, right? You're holding up 2 cards, you're asking, where's the word cheetah? That's a direct question. But an indirect question would be, what is the fastest animal on earth, right? Which again, answer's still cheetah, but that indirect question is far more sophisticated. So now he's showing he can answer indirect questions. And that shows much higher comprehension, by the way. He received something called an understanding victory at this visit because his comprehension has improved so much, right? As I said, he's confidently reading new books. He's understanding stories now, and he's well enough to answer all kinds of questions. In his speech, his vocabulary has expanded significantly, and his speech is clearer and more fluent. So now he's saying sentences like, Mom, please, where's the ball, right? Where now he's not just speaking in sentences, people can understand him when he talks. This is a video of Mom reading a book to Mattia.
Adoro l'odore di questa lavanda.
So yeah, that you can see how focused and concentrated he is with the reading part of the program. From a physical standpoint, his endurance has improved a lot. He can now hike up to 5 kilometers on mountainous terrain. And by the way, many adults couldn't do that or would have a lot of difficulty doing it. And that includes significant elevation changes, which can often create a challenge for breathing, but Mattia can do it with confidence. He couldn't do this before. And his understanding of time and safety rules has advanced to the level of a typical 6-year-old, right? So just to give you an idea, before, parents really couldn't trust Mattia to be safe. You know, for example, they had to hold his hand whenever they were close to a road because they weren't sure if he would run out into the road, right? Which is a very scary experience for parents. But now he understands those safety rules, so they don't need to be watching him all the time. And this helps him engage more safely with his daily life. Let me go back to that. Here you can see, one of the parts of the Doman physical program is a balance program where we might have a child walk on a balance beam. That's a thin beam where they have to balance themselves. Here you can see Mattia is doing it on a beach. Please notice not just his balance, but also his vision, right? This was a child who had a lot of difficulty with visual tracking. He's looking down, he's watching where he's placing his feet. Mattia's father sent us a quote. He said, "Since starting the Doman program, Mattia has made significant progress both physically and cognitively. His vocabulary and speech are much more fluent and understandable, and his physical stamina has greatly improved. Thank you." And keep in mind, this is all in 6 months at the age of 9 years. Right, so Mattia's journey is really a testament to his determination, right? Because he's doing the program on a daily basis, and of course to his parents. And just in the last 6 months, he's made a huge gain. So we're excited to see what he achieves in the future. So that is Victory Day. So we reported on 4 different children who came to our clinic, all with wonderful results, very different ages, very different diagnoses, very different challenges. Some been on the program only 6 months, some several years, but wonderful to see what all of these families are achieving. All right, well, listen, everyone, we've still got a little bit of time in this webinar. So now I'm open to taking your questions. We invite parents to ask their biggest, toughest questions, and we'll give it a try in answering them. And Colleen, I think we've got a few pre-submitted questions, right?
We do. We actually have some from last week as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
so-
get to those too then.
Yeah. Okay, so first question is, my daughter is 11. Oh dear. Sorry, this mom, I realized, didn't tell us what the symptoms are. My
Okay.
daughter is 11 years old, and I would like to know if this program will help her in reducing symptoms, and will she be able to thrive?
Yeah. So I think, even though I don't know much about this child, I get the sense from this mom, her biggest concern is her child's age. Can my girl at 11 years of age improve? Or is it too late? Which is a common question we get. And I hope this mom gets to watch this presentation, because we went over Elisa, who's age 26. We just talked about the results Elisa has had. Mattia is 9 years old. So we have a whole wide range of ages of children when they and adults when they start the Doman method. A lot of people don't realize that our program was actually developed 70 years ago by my grandfather, Glenn Doman, who was a physical therapist. But he actually started to develop the program working with stroke patients who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. So with adults. And then he really didn't start focusing on children until he realized, with children, I can really teach parents and the family how to do the treatments with the children, rather than what he was doing, which was an inpatient clinic where the adults were living at the clinic and getting the treatment. He said, I can teach the families, they can do the treatment with their children. We can help a lot more people this way. And the results, of course, were fantastic. So absolutely, an 11-year-old can do great on our program. We have many children and teenagers starting the Doman method. So I urge this mom to learn more. Talk to Colleen, get our book, The Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness. I would recommend starting.
All right, great. Wonderful. Well, next question we have is how to develop speech for a finger-sucking 2-year-old.
Interesting. Okay. So first of all, when we talk about developing speech, we have to address several different things with children with special needs. The first is, often they have sensory issues. They might have hearing issues, right? Because hearing is so important for the ability to produce speech. We all know that people, for example, who are deaf and cannot hear do not speak clearly. So we have to make sure that we are developing the child's hearing. So we often do auditory stimulation to develop hearing, but also we often do stimulation inside and outside of the mouth to help the child feel their mouths better, because a lot of speech is a sensory experience. We often don't think about it, but our ability to feel our tongue and our mouths is very important for being able to speak clearly. So we do that. So we'll do an auditory program, often a sensory program, and also breathing is very important for speech development. We talked about Mattia, that a 9-year-old child with Down syndrome, and I use him as an example because I think he's a good example. The father said Mattia's speech has improved greatly in vocabulary and clarity at 9 years of age. That's because Mattia also is doing the Doman Method oxygenation program, which is a program focused on improving breathing ability. Breathing is really important for speech, and it's often not understood, not respected amongst professionals. But our ability to project is based on our ability to breathe, right? So as I'm speaking this sentence, I'm slowly letting out air as I'm talking, and then I inhale, and then I keep exhaling gently as I speak. This ability to regulate breath, something most of us never think about, but is crucial for children with special needs. Many children, one of the symptoms of their neurodevelopmental issue is regulating and controlling their breath. And so by improving breath, we often improve their ability to project speech. So what I would say to this mom, because it sounds like she's brand new to the Doman Method, in the book, The Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness, and I thought I had a copy here, but I realized I have a Spanish copy. I'm looking around to see if I have an English one nearby. In the book, The Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness, we outline things like the auditory program. We talk about the Doman Method oxygenation program. We have a speech development chapter in that book. So I would definitely recommend this mom get the book, The Doman Method, and also jump on a call with Colleen and learn more about the program that way. But yeah, I do want to say the books are really helpful. We have a lot of families that even when they come for their first visit, they've read the books, they've started to implement the programs in them, they've started to see changes, and that's really, really helpful. And it's good for parents to know what it is that we do and how over the last 70 years we've come to these conclusions. Oh, I appreciate that. Sandra just wrote, great book. Thank you, Sandra. Sandra, I think they'll listen to you more than they'll listen to me. So it's always nice when a parent writes something like that.
Spencer, I'm wondering, could you take a moment and tell parents about I don't know if everybody understands how the timeline came about, in terms of like, why are there books, when Glenn started, because you mentioned how initially an inpatient facility for older people, and then it transformed into, no, I'm going to work with parents so they can work with their kids at home. I think it's helpful for families to understand that history, because then they get like why the books are so important.
Yeah, sure. So when my grandfather started his work in the 1940s, first of all, he realized that a lot of the things he had learned in university as a physical therapist were not helping his patients. And he came to realize that's because what he had learned in school wasn't actually targeting the root cause of the problems of the patient, which was brain development. So he started to develop treatments and activities that helped deliver brain development, which we now know as neuroplasticity. It's a term used to mean the human brain's ability to change. And so he created a program basically to enhance neuroplasticity. Over time, he started to realize that, first of all, of course, the younger a person is, the more their neuroplasticity, the more their brain is able to change. And so he started to realize, maybe I shouldn't just focus on people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. Let me focus on children where they've got their whole lives ahead of them. Let's get those children walking, talking, succeeding in school. And so he adapted his focus to children. And he realized actually that when he taught parents how to do the program with their own children, they actually got better results than he and his team did in an inpatient facility setting. And I think this is what surprises parents the most. They're like, no, it's not possible that I could achieve something better than experts could achieve in a clinical setting. But because children, first of all, parents love their children more than anyone else, right? Far more than a therapist who's seeing 40 kids a week, who's going to see that child once a week for 30 minutes. Parents love that child a lot more. They're more dedicated than anyone else than to their child. And so my grandfather found, okay, when we teach the parents these treatments and activities and they do them with the children, we actually get better results. So let's do that instead. And so that's where really the Doman Method became a kind of teaching method where we coach parents with holistic solutions for their children. And that's why we have the books, because we wanted to make the information as readily available to parents as possible. And I think the books are even, when my grandfather started writing books in the 50s and 60s, there was no information available to parents of children with special needs. Parents were just told, put your child in an institution. That was the answer from professionals. Now we live in a different age where there's actually an overwhelming amount of information for parents. Parents really don't know where to look for answers. And so I think the books help parents today with narrowing down if this is the right program for their child. Because if a parent reads like reads one of our books, The Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness or Answering Autism, I think they're going to be able to tell pretty quickly, is this something for my family or not? Like, is this something I'm that's right for us? Is this something that's going to fit our life? And if a family is looking for answers and they want to play a role in their child's development, the books are a great place to start.
Fantastic.
Anything else you want to add to that, Colleen?
I think just that, yeah, that families should understand that as much as we, of course, our main work is developing these programs for individual kids, customizing them, working with the families very closely to help them achieve results. The truth of the matter is that we also understand it can be very hard for families to get to us, even though we travel. There's financial issues, schedule issues, and I think it's very, very important for families not to feel like, oh, if I can't come and work with the Doman team directly, then there's just no point. I won't be able to do anything, because nothing could be further from the truth. And we have known many families over the years who, when they found out about us, initially they said, we can't come for an appointment with you right now. It's not the right time. But they began with the books. They started joining, this session to ask questions, and then they started, planning for an eventual appointment. And by the time they got to us, they had already seen big changes for their kids. So I think that speaks to the fact that it is really about what families can accomplish for their kids. Our staff are great, very experienced, very caring, but yeah, you're right. Nobody cares about a kid the way their parents do.
For sure.
Yeah. So read the books, folks. All right. So the next question I have is from Annabella. She wants to know, what can I do to help my daughter develop an understanding of quantities in math?
So there are basically two main things that a parent can do to teach quantity. And one involves the creation of materials, and the other one is a more simple approach. And unfortunately, I don't have materials nearby to show everyone, but one easy way, I happen to know Annabella, and I know her daughter, and very often with an older child, and when I say older child, I mean a child over 2 or 3 years, I would just begin by teaching them with poker chips or some other object where, and this is the important thing, when I place a quantity in front of a child, I don't count them for the child. So I wouldn't put down, for example, 3 poker chips on a table and say 1, 2, 3. I would just place it down on the table and say, that's 3, right? And then maybe I'd put down 1 poker chip and I'd say, that's 1. And then I put down 2 and I'd say, that's 2. And the reason why is we actually want children to be able to look at a quantity and recognize it. This is an ability which is called innate number sense, right? Innate number sense. It's like if I show you this quantity, your brain, almost like a picture, recognizes that as 4. And that's very important. Some children with developmental delays, they can only realize what a quantity is by counting, by going 1, 2, 3, 4. And the problem with that approach is that if they make a mistake, which they commonly do, they miss a finger, right? They say 3, right? Or they overcount 5. And it's very hard with a child if they cannot recognize quantity. If they don't have this innate number sensibility, advancing in math is very difficult. So that's my preferred method. I would say, yeah, for parents out there, put down quantities in front of your child and just tell your child what they are: 3, 5, 2, 6. And that's very helpful for teaching children that ability. My grandfather wrote a book called How to Teach Your Baby Math, which also applies to children with special needs. Thousands of parents of children with developmental delays have used that program to teach their children math. So I recommend that book as well.
Excellent. Oh, great. I had a question for you. I spoke with a mom earlier, or I guess last week, Lydia, whose son Valencio was just seen in Italy and is doing spectacularly well already. Yes. She's of course been talking to her staff coach, about this, but I thought this was an interesting thing that maybe parents would be curious to hear about. They've started a full program. Valencio is 14 years old, so he can participate in everything. But he began to have trouble sleeping. And so, I mean, Natasha had advice for them. They're ironing it out. But I wonder, can you talk about why that might be? Sometimes families, oh, this is getting worse. It's like, well, maybe it needs to get worse before it can get better for different reasons, or we have to look at, what's going on. Could you say anything about that?
Got it. So this child specifically, you're saying that sleep got a little bit more erratic after starting the program.
Yes. Yeah. But they dove right into a full program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So my first impression is two things, but the most obvious thing, the first question I would ask a parent is, at what time are you stopping the Doman Method program activities? Because some parents with very good intentions will do them into the evening, not realizing that they're doing these activities that are kind of exciting the nervous system, right? We are doing stimulation, and that can sometimes make sleep erratic. Similar to, like, if you watch a exciting movie, it might be harder to fall asleep right afterwards. If you're doing visual, auditory, and tactile stimulation right before bedtime, you're kind of telling the brain, wake up, wake up, wake up, it's daytime, So very often, I would say to this family, they probably were told this at their initial visit, because we tell all the families, but we also teach families many things, and it's hard to remember everything, that at 6 p.m., that's probably the best time to just, no matter how much you've achieved of your Doman program during the day, at 6 p.m., you should just pause the program and pick up the next day. That's important for sleep, but it's also important for family life, right? It's important that you all sit down and have dinner together. It's important that the child gets to bed on time and sleeps well throughout the night. It's something which maybe we don't even talk about as much as we should, because it's almost cliched, but the family dinner time is really important. I think it's important whenever it's possible for families to sit down and have dinner together, especially for young children. Dinner time is a really good time for family members to talk about their experiences during the day, to socially connect, to check in with one another. Shared time is very important. And I think in the modern age, that's happening less and less. So I would say stop the program at 6 p.m., have dinner together as a family, unwind, and make sure you have a bedtime routine for the 30 minutes before bed that is consistently the same thing. Okay. Because that's important. The Doman Method oxygenation program has been designed to increase oxygen delivery to the brain. And that's why it's therapeutic. But I would also tell a parent, don't do that before bedtime, because you're increasing oxygen delivery to the brain. You're basically helping help the brain become more alert. That's why our oxygenation program is really helpful for learning ability and improving comprehension. But I wouldn't do it before sleep time, because again, it could interrupt. Similar to, like, if you told the child, go out and sprint 100 yards, it could affect sleep. So yeah, probably, just to put some boundaries on when you're finishing the program would do a lot for the kid.
It's very, very smart. I think we all should put more boundaries on, our sleep. Last night, it was about 11:30. I was going to bed, and my husband asked me, he said, oh, will you have time to do such and such later this week? And I said, I cannot answer that question right now, because it would require me looking at my Google Calendar. And if I look at that right now, I'm going to turn my brain on again, and I cannot do that.
Yeah.
I said, I'll let you know tomorrow at 6 a.m. when I get up.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Yeah, Colleen, and as someone who works with parents of children with special needs, I very often get messages from moms. Usually they're in other parts of the world, but it's 2 a.m. and they're messaging me, and I'll write them back an answer and then say, go to sleep, because they're often chronically sleep deprived. Yes. And they need to be sleeping.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Any other questions?
That is all of our pre-submitted questions.
Good. Good questions.
Yeah, very good question.
Perfect. Well, listen, I'll give everyone, we've got about 5 minutes left. I'll give you all a couple more minutes, whether you're joining right now on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can type your questions into the comments box and I will see them and answer them. So go ahead and start typing your questions in. And if you joined our session late, I would recommend you go back later on and rewatch or watch the Victory Day presentation. I reported on the results of 4 children that came to Doman International this month and the changes they had. I think that will inspire all of you.
I actually do have, I just remembered a question from a parent that I got last week. She was asking about, but I don't know if we can talk too much about it here. She has a child with a diagnosis of mild developmental delay. She's wondering if the new, and he's little guy. She's wondering if the new baby program would be appropriate or helpful.
Yeah. So
which is not a Doman International.
It's not a Doman.
I want to make that clear to everybody. Please don't message me saying, when can I get into the bit where this is it's a little bit different. It's not really intended for,
So yeah, there's a separate company called Doman Learning, which again is run by the Doman family, by us, for parents of well children. And on Wednesday, we're releasing a new course called the Doman Baby course. And it really focuses on what are the kinds of stimulation and different kinds of opportunities we need to be giving babies from birth and in the first year of life to help that child reach all of their milestones, but also just, what can we do for that child's brain development to help ensure them academic success, physical success, and just confidence and happiness in the future. And so that's what the Doman Baby course is all about. How do you give a child an early head start? And so to answer your question, for a parent of a child with special needs, if they have a baby, a young child, under 6 months of age, I would say yes, I think that course would be helpful. Now, I have to put a little bit of a caveat here, because if this is a family who's come to Doman International for an appointment or is going to come for an appointment, I would tell them, you know what, everything that's in that course that we feel is important for your child with special needs, we will teach you and we will put it into the program. So I would say to that family, maybe save the $65 or whatever the course is. I forget how much it is, but it's not expensive. But I'd say save that money for something else and let the Doman International team teach you how to do that. But for a family who says for whatever reason they cannot come, then I think the course could be helpful.
Okay.
But there's no information in that course that the Doman International team isn't aware of, right?
Of course, obviously. Yeah, it was interesting because I was telling this mom about, how smart is your baby? And of course, the Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness. And I mentioned that my daughter's the baby on the cover of the one book, which is kind of wild to think about. So it's over 20 years old now. But yeah, I think for families to understand, it's that head start, having that information when your child is a newborn is really helpful, because then you can also head off issues at the pass, because I mean, hey, we all have things. I still have a laggy, left, what's the word? Light reflex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know whether I found that out in Italy last year. Because one of the girls was just, using me as a guinea pig. Yeah. I don't know what I could have done with my life if I hadn't had that laggy left eye.
Never know. Yeah. But it's a good point, because very often with I was speaking to a family recently, actually, who happens to be close personal friends of ours, and they have a young boy who's a year and a half old, and when he was born, he had a tough delivery. And they weren't really sure if his brain development had been affected. And so they began our baby program with him. And really, I mean, now he's 18 months old, but academically, he's far more intelligent, I think, than average children. His speech is more developed, but he has some tightness on the one side of his body. Now, he learned how to walk, but he has some tightness. And his mom was telling me, they ended up coming for their first appointment at Doman International, but the mom told me, I don't know where he would be if we hadn't given him the early stimulation program. She feels that he may not be walking, his cognitive and speech development may not be where it is, which is very advanced. So that's, to your point, Colleen, one of the most important things about the early stimulation program that we discuss in the Doman Baby course is preventing neurological issues. There are many other good reasons to do it, but that's one of the most important.
Sure.
And I would also say there are many parents on the Doman International program who might have well neurotypical babies, or might be expecting a child or planning for a child in the future. And I think the Doman Baby course would be great for them, for the child they're expecting.
Definitely.
All right. I don't see any more questions, so I think we're going to leave it there. Everyone, please join next week. We do this webinar at the same time every week. We've been very good this year. We haven't missed a single week.
No.
So Mondays at 11 a.m. Philadelphia time, which is Eastern time here in the US. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Colleen, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.